Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cloud Wars Live. This is the podcast that's digging into the digital revolution and trying to take a look at the impact that's having across businesses of every size, the role that technology plays in helping these businesses make the leap into the digital economy. And we've got one of our favorite monthly digital all-stars with us today. Bonnie Tinder is the CEO of Raven Intel. She has developed a site that does research on software project implementations and the partners who work with those, and has a fantastic view into what's going on with customers, how they're using technology and the outcomes that they're achieving. Bonnie, welcome back to Cloud Wars Live.
Thanks for having me, and I'm excited about our conversation today.
Yeah, Bonnie, it sounds like you got some good stuff going on here. There's Goldilocks, there's wisdom, there's all sorts of good ideas going on here. What are you seeing?
Yeah, well, Bob, in light of your granddaughter, and probably some of the fairy tales that you are reading to her, I thought it would be fun if we talked about one of my favorites growing up, which was Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Right.
But I thought maybe in light of us talking about software, we could rename it to Goldilocks and the Three Softwares for our session today.
I like that. Bonnie, it sounds like the right way to go. And I'm trying to run through, Goldilocks, there was somebody had a house, Goldilocks found a way in, she was testing different things in the house, and, there were different variations. And I guess could we call, was Goldilocks a customer? Was there a customer experience here?
Absolutely. So yeah, think about Goldilocks like a customer sneaking out of her house and finding herself in a house of three bears. While they were not home, of course. And she goes through, just to sort of revisit the fairy tale itself, but she goes through a series of, different situations where she tests out chairs and a bed and porridge. And in every single one of them, she has, she has to find her best fit, so to speak. And so I think that's really apropos with the customer journey and finding the right software for their situation that's the right fit, and also finding the right partner in helping them on their journey to realize the value of that software.
So, Bonnie, lots of different choices, lots of alternatives out there, but only one is sort of like the just right fit.
Absolutely. And it's so imperative, and particularly for a mid-sized business, to find that fit and not, just go with a software because it, is the one on the upper right quadrant of, some report, or because they hear, the big brand that uses that software. What's most important is that a business finds a software that's flexible, agile, facilitates, collaboration, especially in this, this new world of work, and, caters to the employees. But that is something that the organization can handle, both cost-wise, implementation-wise, and one size does not fit all, and it doesn't, one software vendor doesn't own the market for all sizes and all industries. So it's really important for a customer to find just the right solution for their business.
And Bonnie, thanks. And before you dive into it here and offer a little bit more on the range of, which one is just right, just please talk about, the sort of the basis of your findings here. Ravenintel.com. You've got a terrific site that offers, what is this, hundreds of examples of what customers have been through, right? And they're the customer reactions, not some third-party reactions.
Absolutely. So Raven Intel at our essence is all about helping software buyers find the best consulting partner for a project based on the reviews of peers. So real life customers who have gone through and rated projects and partners. A customer can come and do a reference check on the partners that they're looking at, and really vet them in a very independent way. And this year we're upwards of 1,200 project reviews at this point. So we have over the last 2.5 years, talked to over 1,200 businesses about their projects. And that's really what informs us on, who's a good partner and who are partners to, avoid and help customers really cut through, some of the hype, and really find out who's doing the best work for customers based on the opinions of their peers.
So Goldilocks was sort of a modern software pioneer.
Absolutely. Little did she know that she was paving the way for the digital transformation of 2021.
Fantastic. So, Bonnie, how does this play out? How do you determine which partner is, too hot, too cool, or just right?
Yeah. And before I go dive in too much into Goldilocks, I do want to give credit where credit is due. In addition to Goldilocks, actually Mike Etling, who is the CEO of Unit 4. Unit 4 is also a customer of Raven as well. He is really the one who came out with this principle, and so I'm just applying some of these to the partner selection process. But certainly Unit 4, is a software that fits great with industries, particularly in the mid-size area. So I do want to make mention that this is not Bonnie Tinder's metaphor. This really originated with Mike. And I think when we think about the story itself. So let's use the porridge example. And sort of apply that. So we have Goldilocks, who was sampling the bear's porridge, and Papa Bear's porridge was too hot, Mama Bear's porridge was too cold, and Baby Bear's porridge was just right. So how do we then take that and put that in terms that are important to us? So the bowl of hot porridge for some businesses represents a technology or a partner that is too big, right? If you're a mid-sized business, you don't want to be the smallest client of a global giant. You're just not going to get the attention. They're not designed. The price point is not going to be designed for the type of project you have in most cases. You want to align with a business that is similar to you and has expertise in your industry, is alike in the culture and the team that they're going to put together, and is able to put together a project scope that's going to be quick to roll out. Because if you're a mid-sized business, chances are you don't have 2 years to do a massive system rollout. You need to solve a problem today, because in 2 years your business is going to be in a totally different place. And yet you want something that is going to be able to scale with you 2 years from now anyways. So in terms of the partner selection, again, just to revisit, what you want to look at is you want to find a partner that's similar in size, in terms of their size, the industry, and culture. And you want to make sure that they have customer references that look like you in the technology that you're about to roll out as well.
Yeah. Bonnie, there's a poem in there about smallest client of a global giant. You got to be too self-reliant. I just can't get the fourth line in that. Can we work on that for next time?
I will think of the final verse of that. Yes.
All right. Bonnie, that makes sense. And again, the other factor that you talk very compellingly about sometimes is, on the one hand, you want to make sure you get the right fit. On the other hand, that just the pace at which business moves today, somebody doesn't have, quarters and quarters or years to try to make this right decision. So how do you advise folks to put the appropriate due diligence in, but also move quickly enough so that they can not fall behind?
Yeah, and it's a balance, because rapid implementation seems like, this big bang approach, seems, especially in the world of cloud deployment, like it could be a good solution. In most cases, it's not. You never want to rush an implementation to the point where you are just lifting and shifting a bad system for moving your spaghetti into the cloud, so to speak. You want to give yourself enough time that you evaluate so you're finding the right system, but also evaluate your internal processes, your data before moving them into a new technology. Technology is not going to just solve things if you're not bringing good information into that new system. So I think that that's a really important consideration. With that said, we've talked about in other podcasts, analysis paralysis and creating a project that's bigger than a bread box too is also not the solution. You don't want to spend too much time on your decision so that you run out of gas by the time you get to the project. You don't want to do that, but also you don't want to create a scope of work and a project that is so big that you don't see results in a shorter period of time as well. As you mentioned, Bob, the speed of business is 6 months, a year from now, you could be in a completely different market. So you don't have that luxury of time. You need to find sort of that happy medium between rapid pace and taking forever for the decision and the rollout itself.
Yeah. And Bonnie, the other thing that you've pointed out here too is, so there's the element of speed, the right fit, but also there's so many application providers today, plus the different capabilities that the partners bring to it. You could pretty quickly, right, get into something where, what was the old line? I think that company Webvan was one of the early .com companies that seemed like billions of dollars in venture capital, and they crashed and burned. But somebody said they were trying to kill a mosquito with a bazooka.
Yeah.
I think was so how do you companies avoid getting something that is just way too big, too complex, and doesn't fit?
Yeah. So I would say try to remove the big brands from the equation. And just because something has a name that you've heard of before, because it's one of the big ERP softwares or one of the big 5 consulting firms, because they advertise at the airport or have a big time PGA golf sponsorship, those are not necessarily the right solution. And so I think, what's important is that you look in your particular industry, what are my peers using? And, what are other customers in my demographic using, as opposed to trying to, use a bazooka to kill a mosquito. You need a fly swatter, or maybe a little off, not a bazooka.
Right. Hey, Bonnie, and then in a second, I want to come back and talk about the other side of that, which is don't undersettle, right? Go for something that's too small. But first, a word from our sponsor, BMC. BMC wants to know, is your business on its A game? That's when systems are intelligent by design, by learning from markets, where automation is paramount yet effortless, and when technology and people work as one in an enterprise. The A game is your business at its absolute best, and BMC calls this the autonomous digital enterprise. Find out more at bmc.com/A-game. So, Bonnie, not too big, not too small, right? Not too hot, not too cold. How do you advise companies to make sure that they don't under purchase what they need?
Yeah. And so, Bob, you mentioned too cold, right? So number one, you don't want to stay with the status quo, right? Because you still need to grow, you still need efficient processes. So, you don't want to stay cold either. That's not going to allow your business to have growth and offer some of the things that you have. You don't want to go with the cheapest solution just because it's cheap. You really want to make sure that that mid-sized either firm or the mid-sized software offers the capabilities that are current too. And just because a software isn't one of the big 5, or a consulting firm isn't the big 5, doesn't mean that you still can't get AI and machine learning and some of these really modern technology or the functionality that could be designed for your business. So don't scrimp, or don't feel like you're not going to be able to get the right solution for your business, because the market through cloud and innovation has gotten to the point where there's so many good niche solutions by industry that you should be able to get functionality that will help scale your business for the next 2, 3, 4 years and beyond as well. So don't just go with a super cheap solution, and expect that to get you results either. You want to, here again, find that medium, which is going to be digestible for you, but offer you functionality that's beyond what you have today, and able to give you 2 years worth of, at least 2 years worth of use.
Bonnie, one other factor that might play into this is, we hear more and more that there's been a shift as, ERP, for example, has moved into the cloud, right? The on-premises systems were sort of built like they were big, right? If you wanted small, you couldn't get it. Like, you have any size you want as long as it's extra large. And those were big and complex, and you had to buy the whole thing. But now, like what you're saying, you don't want people to overcommit or undercommit, but they're talking more, right? Is this right, about modular components? So you can buy this piece, see how that works. If you need some more, you can add on to that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and I've heard the phrase, start anywhere, go everywhere. And this idea of modular, components that do fit together in the end, again, allow even big businesses going with one of those larger softwares to start small and then add on, knowing that the solution has the capability to be integrated and it's, all part of the same vendor family. So I think that that's especially for a large company, breaking the project down into smaller pieces is probably better than this massive, rollout, so to speak. Get it to a point where you can, take the 100 steps and break them into digestible parts.
Yeah, there's also the partner equation here. Now, it's a big part of what you cover and analyze at Raven Intel, and you help people rate and evaluate them. So what's your thoughts on, how a buyer can feel like, okay, I've got the right software product. Now, how do I get the right partner? And all those points that you've brought in, not too big, not too small, just right.
Yeah. So you want a partner that's going to have, first and foremost, expertise with the product line and function that you are in. So somebody, if you're in the area of, if you just bought an HCM system, you want a partner that has a specialty with human resources as well as that particular software. And then beyond that, your industry as well. They are going to be able to sort of out of the box know what's important for businesses like yours, and have a lot of configurations that are sort of pre-built for your environment, and then knowing that you can customize that based on your particular business. But those are those type of things that a partner, when they walk in, can help know where the drivers of value are and what to prioritize by your business. And the way that you can sort of sniff out, does this particular system integrator or partner have experience with this, is through peer reviews and those customer references. Certainly Raven Intel, huge resource for you there, because you can get that directly from other customers who have gone through it with them. But ask the hard questions during reference calls with other customers to say, what were the challenges that you faced? How did this particular vendor adapt to those? So those are things that you really want to sort of peel back the onion on and make sure that they've done implementations like yours. Again, they don't have to be a massive consulting firm to have a great level of expertise. And sometimes the boutiques, what we're seeing, offer a better value and a speedier process, especially when it comes to systems implementation. If you don't need a full HR transformation, you don't want your consulting group to come and make your project bigger than it needs to be. You want somebody who can come in and offer some expertise for you to get up and running in a rapid period of time. And there's plenty of really solid boutique independent firms that can do this. Not all of them, but it makes sense to really vet those that you think are are good and make sure that you get customer references that prove what they say they can do, they can do.
Yeah, Bonnie, you made a point too about the importance of knowing the customer's industry, right? Having a familiarity with that, and I think it goes back to, the line you attributed to Mike Etling of Unit 4, which is, it's the world is just moving too fast, and customer expectations are too high for this one size fits all approach. It's not effective. It's not reasonable in some ways anymore. And I thought it was interesting several weeks ago, Howard Boville, who's the head of the IBM cloud business, was talking to him, and he said that IBM has sort of tossed out the idea of general purpose clouds that could apply in financial services or in construction or in pharmaceuticals or retailing. And he said you really have to build these clouds purpose built for that specific industry. So I don't want to beat that point to death, but you've also pointed out here that if a partner doesn't understand your industry pretty well, that partner is not going to be able to impart some unique ideas and approaches for innovation, and just sort of not just be the implementer, but be a business advisor in some ways. Is that fair?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And I think you get a flavor for that during your selection process when you meet the team that's going to be assigned to your project. And you want to make sure that the team that you meet during the sales process is the same one that you're going to have, once you sign a contract as well. Those viewpoints, as you mentioned before, in that area of expertise, you're going to get a sense for that during the meetings that you have with them. That's when they're going to be able to demonstrate it. And you want to make sure that you actually like those people as well, and your team is able to feel a camaraderie with that group as well. Because even if your project is fast, it's probably going to be at least 6 months you're going to have to deal with these people. So you want to make sure that you like them, that they're knowledgeable, and that culturally they sort of fit with your organization, because they're going to be an extension of your team and you're going to deal with them a whole lot.
Talk about they've got to be the right size, they have to have experience with the right solution, they have to understand the industry. There's sort of the no jerks policy at minimum, and then also can they work well with what you're doing? Because again, you're not putting in a railing for a back stairway that's hardly ever used. This is something that's going to determine the fate of your business, right? So that it's so important that you get the hard factors like the right application done the right way and the right combination, but also those softer things around people, culture, and a sense of shared purpose.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, I think a couple of days ago, I was watching your interview with Wayne, and Wayne had mentioned that it is, CIOs today are not evaluated on a single stack of tech, because usually these systems that are being put in touch every function and make everybody effective. It is rare that you have one of these projects that only affect one little silo. They are going to end up really helping either build or detract from your company brand, because these are systems that your employees are going to use. And so much is dependent on employee experience and how do they like the products that are being used for productivity and things like that. So you're not going to do these projects in a vacuum. And your project team is going to be, not your whole company, but it's going to touch everybody within the business. So you need to really think through the overall ramifications of, like, is this system going to be adopted? And how is this going to change the employee relationship? Because it's going to represent your company. It's going to represent and help build your brand if it's done well.
Bonnie, this has been great. And, it's interesting what you said on these, on the strength of these multiple decisions about, who's the vendor, who's the partner, what's the right product, how does it fit together on all these lines. Your great illustration on your blackboard behind you, right? If you look at the one for hot, it's pretty close. And then look at the one that's just right. The lines are actually pretty similar, but you want to go from, instead of a steamy thing coming off there, to that nice smiley face.
That's right. You want you want good tasting porridge, right? That's just the right temperature. And, it's going to satisfy you until lunch, essentially. So,
I've been hearing about porridge for many, many, many years, many decades even. What is porridge?
I think it's like old-timey oatmeal.
Okay.
Or maybe like cream of wheat. Like, I don't even know that people eat cream of wheat anymore, but I think it's like a hybrid between cream of wheat and oatmeal.
Okay. All right, because I'm thinking if it's too hot and you get a blob of that on your tongue, it's not going to be a good experience.
No way. No
No.
way.
Bonnie, thanks. You've covered a lot of ground here. Is there any final thoughts you want to toss in?
I would just close and say that with the right software and the right partner, that, if you're able to do a project that has a setup that is rapid, that it's easy to adopt, it's industry specific, and it's going to be designed for the growth of your business, and that's really where mid-sized organizations can drive growth within the company. So, implementing technologies, with those that sort of foundation, that's where you can drive growth within your company. And the technology out there it makes a lot of things possible that just a couple of years ago weren't.
Yeah. Well, Bonnie, thank you. This is great. And again, for anybody who wants to get an idea of where to find some of these evaluations of the partners, ravenintel.com has lots and lots of great peer review data there that can be shared. So Bonnie, as always, thanks so much. Always great to see you.
You too. Thank you.
And thanks, folks, to all of you for being with us here at Cloud Wars Live. I hope summer's going great for you in full swing. We still have 2 months of summer left. We'll enjoy it, and we'll be back again soon with another episode of Cloud Wars Live.